Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
First things first, gatekeepers. We have a gatekeeper out there that needs our prayers, and we need to send healing energy to Cord, K-O-R-D, that he is found safe, he is found swiftly, and unharmed. So those prayers go out. Also, healing energy and good positive vibes to anybody out there that needs healing tonight. It's there for the taking. All my love to anybody out there who really needs it. So there's not enough love in the world. Let's see if we can put some out there. So that's for you guys. Okay. So, hello and welcome. To answer Blue's question, yeah, probably. You know, I probably talk about Gettysburg a lot, but it's near and dear to my heart. So is the Civil War. I'm doing everything I possibly can to put out positive energy and information out there about how horrible civil wars are in any country, at any time, at any point in history. If we don't remember history, we're destined to repeat it. I can't possibly say that enough. I would say it in the beginning, the middle, and the end of every episode if I could. Because war's real. I've been a soldier. I've sat with many a soldier, many a vet, many combat vets. And I can tell you those that survive battles, even though they come home whole, they're never completely the same. So also it is one of the most wonderful things to go do as far as Paracon. The Gettysburg Bash is held every year in, of course, Gettysburg, usually at the Wyndham Hotel, and it is completely after cost, and most of the things are donated, most of the time is donated. There's no paid people as far as I know. I mean, I can't speak out of class, so if somebody knows, hey, somebody gave me a $10 check to, you know, for an Uber or a drop-off or whatever. That's, you know, this is for terminally ill children, and also they help Heroes for Hire, and that man goes around mostly on his own expense to help, Make-A-Wish Foundation as well as others, and really encourages these children that are fighting these horrible diseases, and also to wounded vets in Pennsylvania. So it's a fantastic thing. The last I heard, it was over $14,000 was cleared for these charities. So it might not go much in the medical field, but it sure goes a long way to put smiles on these kids' faces. And at the same time, it happens to be in the center of one of the most horrible battles ever seen in America. There's many massacres, many, genocide go all the way back. There's been all kinds. But for some reason, I'm extremely attached to Gettysburg. Why I dedicated a whole chapter to it in my book. The next one, I guarantee if I write another one on experiences, it's going to be in there. Oh, it was over that amount. Okay, because that was our last call that I had heard, and I left a little early on Sunday. Is that you, Michael? Facebook user? There's a thing on there that you can click where I can see who you are, but if you want to stay incognito, absolutely. Believe me, I don't mind being corrected, especially if it's more money for those kids and those wonderful charities. So excellent. So welcome, gatekeepers. Prayers to everybody who needs it tonight. Good news, bad news. Donnie is here. Let me bring him in. That's the good news. Hello, sweetie. Welcome in.
Hi.
Are you still having audio problems? How do you hear Donnie? Donnie, give us a poem
Okay, so
or
I've
a.
been having mic issues
Mhm.
where I hear myself echoing, but Cisco can't seem to hear me echoing. So now I'm wondering if the chat can hear me echoing.
Oh, it's Tim. Welcome, welcome in, Tim. We are going to have Tim and hopefully his dad on here. He does wonderful research, fantastic, open mind.
Oh, I'm echoing.
Are you echo? They're hearing you echo. Okay, maybe we can help you with that. But hang on one
Does
second.
anyone here in the chat have any advice for me? Because I haven't touched my mic. I don't know what's going on.
Right. If you've got some advice for Donnie, we'll tell you how the setup is. But anyway, Tim is terrific. He is going to come on. Fantastic. We're going to dedicate a whole episode to him and his research. They do wonderful research about Bigfoot and UFO sightings and where they are, and so many are seen together around the same time. But we'll get him on to explain that much better than I ever could. I talked to him a lot at the Bash, talked to a lot of wonderful people. He was one of them. And just absolutely fantastic and very exciting, intriguing information from the Commonwealth. So there you go. So many good people. So would you tell, let's see, AJK.
Yeah, I already tried rebooting.
We tried rebooting. We did try that. Let's see.
It is
Let's see
USB.
if
It is USB.
Okay, it is. And I thought maybe something with, he doesn't have anything on, like he's got YouTube, but it's muted. He's got headphones. I think the headphones have a mic in the wire, and he's connected to the mic. And he's on a PC. PC, right? Not a laptop?
I'm on a desktop.
Desktop, okay. So if you guys have any, because it's not here, let me see. Let's see. Nope, there's nothing here. I don't have very many settings for guests on mine. Control panel volume. AJK says, try the control panel volume on your PC.
All right, I'm trying it now.
Job echo. So anyhow, while you're trying a couple of things, just talk when you need to, Donnie. The bad news is Steve is suffering from a horrible migraine. That's one of the reasons I sent out the healing light tonight. So please send healing prayers to Steve. He's had a hell of a couple weeks. He was doing good there for a little bit, and now he's down with a migraine. We just found out a little bit before the show. Clancy is so nice. We hear him twice. That's funny. But we had a heck of a weekend, didn't we, Donnie?
We did have a good weekend.
Okay.
And if I'm going to keep repeating, I'm just going to use my phone instead of my computer.
Whatever you need to do, hon.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that okay with you?
We'll see in a bit.
Okay, take your time.
It's going to hurt the show if I'm constantly echoing. So.
Right. We want it.
Yeah,
We want it good for everybody listening. It's an important show. Okay. Hi, it's just me again. I had stuff on my. So I have. Where did the other half of my head go? Look at that. That's crazy. Look at that. Woo. That's weird. All right. So. Hello to everybody, all these wonderful gatekeepers in here. Aunt Edna, Vixen Doe, Blue Crossroads, Maraid, Froze, AJK, hello darling. Maraid, our wonderful mermaid, Froze. Where's my nachos, Froze? I put and it's just a joke between me and Froze. Vixen Doe, hello love. Glenn, hello. Micah, welcome. Who else did I miss? Salvador. Hello, wonderful. I know Lindsay's in here. Chris Jarvis. Hello, sweetie. How you doing? Ted Branson. Let's see. Oh, welcome, Tim. Yep, Echo. Yep, we're working on it. Let's see. What else? Great. Oh, Lindsay. Lots of love to you, darling. Big hugs. I think I caught everybody. Oh, Robert, welcome in. Hi, I'm Rob, paranormal investigator in Connecticut. Also been to Gettysburg 10 times. Wonderful, Robert. Yeah. I mean, it's like you can't get enough. You could go 10 times, still hadn't seen half of it, right? It's crazy. Uncommon Belief, another wonderful mod. Sue, welcome in. I saw Susan in here, Susan Woodcarver, Susan Ashwell. Welcome, 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 everybody. So, I am very sorry Steve couldn't be with us tonight. I was looking forward to showing him some stuff. Maybe he's listening. I hope so. Bacon and love to everybody out there. So, Gettysburg, man. I know, like I said, here we go. Look. I got the shirt, right? I got my new, look here. I got my new Lincoln cup. Can you see that? Let's see if we can go back far enough. Maybe you can see it. See it? That's better. It's got Gettysburg Address on it. It's got him sitting here talking to Tad. I'll tell you something else. I won't tell you from where. And I thought about telling you this, but, we just share everything on here, so might as well. While I was at the Gettysburg Bash and in Gettysburg and, in and around, I actually was shown and held in my hands the most disgusting thing I think I've ever seen in my life in my hand. And keep in mind, I've seen some pretty gross stuff in my hand. But it was, and I won't tell you from who or where, but it was brass slave badges. Yeah. And they were being preserved in good hands, not on display, not, nothing like that, but just kept from somebody doing that. And when you hold something like that in your hand, things really come into view. So, very intricate, the things that were said on there, it was just like you'd put on, actually, not, dog license and stuff like that is even more honorable, it seems like, than these were. So, does Gettysburg Bash have a website? They do not, as far as I know at this time. Hoover House does, and Pam and Steve Barry, who have been on the show, are the couple that actually started it and is mostly running it. And they have a Facebook page. You can go to Pamela Barry, Barry, and also put in Gettysburg Bash at Facebook if you have that, and it will come up. So let's see if Donnie is still doubled here.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I still echoing?
I hear you fine.
Okay.
So there's a bit of a delay, Donnie, so it's going to take a second for people to answer. Anybody got the URL? If anybody has Facebook and they want to pull up the Gettysburg Bash Facebook page, I know it's already set. Oh, yep, what, Micah? Yeppy's echoing or Yeppy's? Oh, still echo. What in the world? So it's got to be, what did you change? You changed your what?
I'm on my phone now.
You're on your phone, not the...
On a completely different thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that microphone still on?
No, this microphone's been unplugged.
Okay. I don't understand it.
Are you
I
sure
really
it's not
don't.
something on your end?
Let me double check. I haven't changed anything either, so... Let's see. Headset. Hold on. Let's see. Can you guys still hear me? Let's try that.
Okay, how am I now? Am I echoing? Oh, I'm completely muted.
I'm waiting for them to tell me. Yep, as far as you're still echoing, I think. I don't understand it, Donnie. Did you pick something up in Gettysburg?
Oh, it says it's good now?
Salvador is saying you're good here. I'm not touching anything. Oh, sounds good. Jackson Lee said, hello, welcome in, Jackson.
Okay, then maybe you know what? I'm gonna switch back on my PC then. I think
we
the
fixed it.
problem
Why are
might
you
be
trying to
fixed.
break it again, Donnie?
Well, because the problem might actually be fixed, and I could go back to using the mic.
Okay.
It might not have been the mic that was the problem. So
Okay, give it
let
a
me
whirl.
try to go back.
Okay.
Because using my phone kind of sucks. I mean, because it's an iPhone, I can't have it plugged in, so eventually it's going to die anyway.
Just please don't do
Stupid
that again
Apple.
with your hands, Donnie.
Yeah,
Don't do that
I'll
again
be
with
back.
your hands.
I'll be back.
Stop that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play a video. So anyway, the slave badges were disgusting. Two of them actually were large brass badges that they had to wear if they were freed. So it said that the name and from who, and that they were protected. So that was a little, to me, it was just as horrifying. You know what I'm saying? Hello, James Wyrick. How you doing? So welcome. So again, that was just in a small little collection in an antique museum. And it when you see something like that, it just really brings it home of how devastating and horrible. So, things human beings allow other human beings to do to each other, and things human beings do to each other. So tonight, we're just trying to remember a little bit about what we're talking about for those who don't know. I do have a video. I have played this video before, but I'll tell you, if you knew how much went into doing these videos, you would not begrudge me one more play on it. It was 159th anniversary of Gettysburg. So here we go. All right, hold on. Let's test Donnie first. Hold on. Let's test the Don.
Okay,
right,
I think we're good now.
Wow, you sound wonderful.
Right? No echo. No echo?
Wait.
Okay, we're good. I don't hear an echo. I think we're good. I think we're 5-5.
So if you see James Wyrick in the chat, you should remember that Jim is part of the dynamic duo of KSPS Paranormal, Keystone State Paranormal Society. He is also very involved in the Hoover House, and part of the light that shines so bright there. We had a wonderful time with him. I do have pictures up here of some of the things that some of the shenanigans we got into there at the Hoover House, with wonderful stories. I will not give you names. The stories belong to other people. Laura was there. Wonderful to meet her in person. And
that was
if
a good
she wants
time.
to come on and tell her story, she can. But it's very private, and I won't do that to people. But I will tell you one that it was absolutely phenomenal. Happened right there in front of us all. We got to see the wonderful and amazing Michael Laciana, who allowed me to use some of his pictures tonight. We have a nice slideshow. But in the beginning, so you're sounding 5-5, baby. All right, I guess we're on our way. So I'm gonna go ahead and
Sorry
play
about
this.
that, Chad.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're only human. So and not techies. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this little vid. We're gonna go ahead and bounce out. Just so you don't get any echoes or banging or anything like that. I really want to get you guys in the mood for what we're talking about here. And I have another one that just, because there's so much good information that we picked up. Donnie and I, Uncommon Belief was there. Just so many wonderful people. So I wanted to play this again for you. So if you've seen it before, maybe now's the time to go make a sandwich, walk the dog, have a cigarette, maybe do all three. But if you don't mind,
after that wrestling match with my computer.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. But yeah,
so go ahead. And okay, we got you on mute. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and I hope you enjoy it. If you have seen it before, like I said, sorry. But here we go.
The three-day Battle of Gettysburg not only marked the turning point in the course of the American Civil War, but also for the future of the United States of America. July 1st, 1863, the first shot rang out in the early morning hours. By its closing on the evening of July 3rd, it would be known to history as the bloodiest battle of the Civil War. There were over 51,000 military casualties as a result of the Battle of Gettysburg. These were Americans on both sides, a true brother against brother scenario. They were mostly farmers by trade on both the Union and Confederate sides. Some officers from both sides went to West Point together, creating lasting memories and bonds they carried with them to the fields of fire, facing each other across the peach orchard, the wheat field, or over the boulders and rock ditches of Devil's Den. They were fathers and sons, husbands and sweethearts. One man, a 69-year-old veteran of the War of 1812, a Mr. John Burns, heard the first shots invading his town. He grabbed his high-top hat and blue swallowtail coat, the musket he used in the War of 1812, and ran across the street to his neighbor and friend, David Broadhead. "Broadhead, get your musket and get your balls. We're gonna fight the Rebs." Broadstreet hollered back, "I have the musket, but I don't have the balls. I'm not a-going." Well, he joined the Union soldiers anyway and proved himself a hero that day. When they were overrun, John threw away his musket and buried his ammo beneath him in the dirt, wounded 4 times. He told the Confederate officer that stood above him that he got caught up, and could they please carry him home. The Confederate officer said, "We can do that." And John lived to meet President Lincoln the day that Lincoln came to give his famous Gettysburg Address. John is buried here under an American flag. Many names and faces made their name in history those famous days, but not as many would have made it into our memory without the photographers, Alexander Gardner and Timothy O'Sullivan. It took a team. Mr. O'Sullivan's photography skills would prove one of the most famous. And here we see some of his work.
$8,000 horses over 3 days, over 1 million in the whole Civil War. I think it was 1.3 million.
The photographic method used then the glass plate wet process took a lot of work. This is an actual picture of an early photo development booth with O'Sullivan standing proudly beside it. It is for us the living rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which is they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to this great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause from which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Abraham Lincoln, November 19th, 1863. Who were they? They were soldiers. They are fathers and sons, husbands and sweethearts, orphans of war, and those left behind to mourn. They walk the fields of battle, they stand watch at the stone walls, sit upon the boulders of Devil's Den and guard still. Still. Physical signs of the battle can still be found in Gettysburg. But for those of us who feel the horror of a battle on American soil with other Americans, face to face, is lasting enough. As George Santayana said, if we do not learn from history, we are destined to repeat it. The years since the battle, many have come together to share their stories, to pass along the wisdoms only war can teach, in hopes that those they're telling the stories to will never have to learn them firsthand. The ground remembers, the rock remembers, the buildings and roads remember, and the wind carries the memory along with it as it blows down the hollowed ditches that sheltered weary soldiers while waiting for the bullets to fly again. You can sometimes hear the rock walls being built still by hands from over 150 years ago. No, the ghosts that are here do not wish to be forgotten. They were fathers, brothers, sons, husbands, and sweethearts, and I cannot forget them.
Well, there you go. That should tell you, again, if you never got to see it, a little bit about what we're talking about tonight. And let's see if Donnie is back. Thank you, Froze. How you doing, Donnie? Okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Excellent, excellent. Jim is saying something here. Some of the very first spirits whose energy I remember picking up on were derived at Gettysburg. It has spirituality in it that speaks of its history and purpose. Amen, brother. Amen. And Lindsay said, heavy. Hey, thanks, Aunt Edna. Thank you so much. If you are interested in reading that full chapter, it is in this little book here, We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife, that I wrote with Steve Stockton. And I hope his migraine is gone away and it's just a memory at this point. Donnie, this was your first trip to Gettysburg. What was your first impression?
This was my third trip to Gettysburg, actually.
Oh, was your third? Okay.
Yeah. First time was with Laura, and then the second time.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
We went to the Hoover House, and then actually the second time we just stopped in for lunch. But then this was my second time on the actual battlefield. I definitely got a better look of it because I didn't get to see much of it the first time. Mm-hmm. Like some of those monuments were amazing. Man, yes. I didn't see that the first time, so I was like, "Whoa, What is
right?
this giant Greek Roman looking thing that's like 4 stories
And
tall? And
amazing,
that was pretty
amazing.
breathtaking.
I've got pictures of
Yeah.
some of them that we were at, and you know, also we've got the. I was very excited to see the whole time going to Gettysburg. I'm such a sap. I actually rented Gettysburg on my phone, and I just sat there and watched Gettysburg the whole time. When I got out, it was there. It was amazing. That's right. No shortage of monuments, Micah. And each one was either donated by the county, the state as a whole, or smaller, fractions in the state, like Daughters of the American Revolution, or you know, all the way through. So many people donated monuments, and it, each one is so unique to the people, the regiment it was dedicated to the different things that happened there on the battle. But if you have seen the movie Gettysburg, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. Like I said, George, Jeff Shara and Michael Shara helped his dad. I can't remember who's who, but the dad started it. The son jumped in and helped him finish it. And two movies were made from those. It was Gods and Generals, and then from Killer Angels, from the book Killer Angels, Gettysburg was done, and then the last full measure of devotion. And they never finished the movie. Why, I do not know. I wish they would. But in Gettysburg, most of the people that you see there are volunteer reenactors. They brought the uniforms, they brought horses, they brought their own weapons, they brought, of course, the uniforms and tents and everything else, and they also brought their knowledge. And the director's cut, yeah, absolutely. Watch the director's cut. Now, I found out some interesting information, little pieces, but when we were downtown Gettysburg, there's actually a circle that's a square. So there you go. And in that, there's a lot of little shops. You've got like fun new shops like Gettysburger, and of course, all the quaint little Gettysburg shops. But that's also where the Wills House is, where President Lincoln stayed the night before the Gettysburg Address. He got off the train there, right there, and at the Wills House was. I found out that David Wills was very prominent in getting the Gettysburg Cemetery purchased and dedicated to the dead. The dead were all around, a lot of them shoved in shallow graves, and arms and legs were sticking out of the ground after just a couple of rains. It was horrid, not to mention the horses that you saw there. All of it. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, here's a town of less than 2,000. I think if it was more than 2,000, it was just barely over that. And, all of a sudden, you got 170,000 troops. Not just soldiers, but carriages and horses and supplies, and just descending on this town from every direction, literally. So one of the things I was really glad to see was one of the first things that I told Donnie we got to go see. In the beginning of the movie, you see General Buford ride in, and he is with the cavalry, and when he gets there, just as basically doing recon, they're basically spotters, the eyes and ears of on both sides. And he gets there and he makes a decision. When he sees this, they keep calling it lovely ground through the whole thing. It's lovely ground to fight on. I just, a soldier's thoughts, but he knew that if he did not hold the high ground, that it was going to be a really bad battle for the Union side. And just by sheer accident, they went around. The Confederates had been in and out of there in Gettysburg for the past couple of days, getting supplies and taking them from the town and lots of food and things like that. But they were able to go around, and where they landed was a little Lutheran church. And he went in the church and went up into the roof into a place called the cupola. And we were actually there, and Donnie did a little video. Ready for me to play that one, Donnie? Hang on,
yeah.
Jake's saying something here. The odor of death was constant reminder of the battle and the carnage from the time of the battle, early July, till late into November of that year. Yes, The townspeople walked and traveled about with handkerchiefs or cloths covering their mouth and nose for those many months. Absolutely. And they just left everything behind for the townspeople, um, to handle with very little help. And not only the dead, but the dying, the wounded. Same. To answer this question, Kevin, did Lincoln see a ghost in the White House? He was a ghost in the White House several times, and I don't know that he saw a ghost. I can't say that that's wrong. If somebody knows, let me know. But he did have many a premonition, and Donnie and I are going to do one last episode on this to finish up with all the ghost stories that pertain to Lincoln and all the woo. And Donnie's got some real good woo to drop on you, so that'll be
Oh
interesting.
yeah, we're loading the woo up. We're
Yep,
loading
and
that
then
up.
and we've
Yeah.
got the whole thing with John Wilkes Booth and all the stuff around that and everything else, and then we'll be done. Like I told Donnie, I like to get thorough, go all the way through, just like we did Amityville, and close the door. Speaking of Amityville, we went to the Bash, hoping to see Chris Quarantino, which is the youngest of well, no, not the youngest boy, not the youngest child. It was a younger sister, and he did not show. I hear it was because he was coming from Arizona and the gas prices were so bad. Who could blame him for that? But we did not get to see him and bring you information of his about Amityville. So I would say that door on Amityville is pretty well shut, unless it springs open, by some supernatural force. We can never tell. But there you go. So this was Custer's first stand. Yes, it was, Micah, and believe it or not, and as a Native American, I got to tell you, as living as close to being a Native American as I possibly can, but I was amazed to hear that when I first heard it. He actually performed very well on the second day, I believe. Jim, if I'm wrong about the second, I think it was the second day, and he performed very well and was able to make split decisions very quickly, and really saved quite a bit of the second day there. And here's another little tidbit. At Appomattox, when Grant and Lee sat in Appomattox Courthouse and signed the surrender, they signed it on a small table. And that table was actually given as a gift to Mrs. General Custer. I don't know her first name, but I thought that was so weird. Now maybe I can see to Grant, he had performed very well. So there you go. Here we go. Custer led Michigan Cavalry Brigade. The Wolverine. Yes, the Wolverines. Absolutely. Yes, Glenn. Absolutely. So here is a little tape. I mean, it's raw footage that Donnie took, but we actually got to see where Buford got to go up and look all around him, and he could actually see the enemy just a few miles away, and knew that he had to hold it. And I have a little video about that. But this is the beginning of the battle on that hot day in July. I believe it was anywhere between 86 and 94 degrees from what I hear. And they're wearing wool uniforms, ladies and gentlemen. Many of these guys were running low on water, ammo, you name it. That's the whole reason, a lot of the Confederates went into Gettysburg for supplies. So here we go. This is Donnie took this one, Donnie. Here you go.
Ready to start?
So this is Schumacher Hall. Schumacher Hall. So apparently there were like a bunch of amputated limbs stacked up outside this building, and General Buford was sitting up in that, what do you call that again?
Cupola.
That cupola, looking over the back.
The cupola, not Francis Ford Coppola, but a cupola. Yes,
I am
Donnie,
such a
I didn't
goofy
answer you.
cameraman.
No, you're funny.
I was just like, why am I standing behind that pole? It's like the worst place to stand.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, but it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
we're all friends here. So it's not like we're on a podcast or anything. So the second, you can see the three windows there. You see the cupola at the very top, and it is now houses, I believe, the Gettysburg Historical Society, probably among other things. But that second window, this was also used as a hospital. All the buildings that were there were used as a hospital and sick, and everything. It does look like William and Mary. It really does. But the stacks of arms and legs there, almost reached the second window. You want a Civil War? Think about it.
Battlefield.
Tell your kids.
That was in the Gettysburg movie, played by Sam Elliott.
Right in the very beginning, where he says we have to hold this high ground.
Yeah, but and then the General Reynolds, that was the guy who got shot, came up and he was like, "Hey," and then they were waving at each other. And then he was looking over this way at this battlefield, like this area.
Yep.
Beautiful shot, Donny.
Confederates are coming.
It is lovely ground.
You kind of see why he held it. It is lovely ground.
So what do they use this hall for now?
Now it's a Gettysburg Historical Society.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the General Buford was like up there looking out, making plans, and they made it into a hospital. Apparently a bunch of people drowned in the cellar. How did they drown in the cellar?
Well, it was raining.
Yeah.
And it flooded easy. That's why all those people died in the ditch as well too. Same
and then
thing.
They had like
Yeah,
makeshift hospital tents out here, just a lot of carnage and bad stuff.
The high ground.
The high ground.
Yep. And he said that he could look out at all of this and he could almost see the battle like it already happened. And he said men in tall hats and gold watch fobs will thump their chests and say what a gallant charge it was. And people would
I remember that scene.
fight gallantly and die gallantly. Yeah.
Yeah, that.
And he wasn't going to let it happen. Is that you? Tell me I didn't hear a break.
Oh yeah, Phone dropped his phone. That was a real.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, I want to put this up here that Jim put. Thanks, Jim. Oh, I'm so glad you're adding all this information, Jim, because Jim lives in just outside of Waynesboro, which is about 26, 30 miles, wouldn't you say, Donnie? Something like that.
Yeah.
Away
Do you
from
want me to read this one
Gettysburg?
out loud?
Please do.
Along the Chambersburg Pike on the western side of town, on the right-hand side of the road heading westbound, there's a small stone marker about 3 feet tall on a hill adjacent to the stone building on the property, which signifies the first shots of the battle by Buford's men.
Absolutely.
And that's Chambers Pike is Route 30.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So that was the first part of the battle. It basically stayed there and started there. And then there was Lee had put out an order that he didn't want anybody to engage. And then General Heath was out there with a small corps, and they kind of got into a skirmish, and that's what started it. They thought they were just fighting cavalry, but I found somebody here that can say it much better than I. He's called Jeffrey the Librarian, and Jeffrey the Librarian has a YouTube channel, and he does a lot with maps. And I went ahead and just recorded his audio. Please go over there if you're interested in this. He does a lot of history, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Chambersburg was burned by Stuart. Okay. Okay, and Lakota. All right, 1 second. Vixen Doe is dropping some info. Lakota, Huckpapa, and Cheyenne had some of the troops cut off. Okay, they could not reach him. Reno was charged with cowardice because he could not break through. Again, war sucks. What was that? Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Nope. So there it is. So I've got some slides here, but I felt like if we watch this little video, it's about 10 minutes. Listen to Jeffrey the Librarian on YouTube, and I went ahead and I did all the video and I did some maps, and Jim is dropping some stuff, so let's grab it now. Go ahead, Donnie. Please do.
The building you were showing in your clip, is now a museum for the Seminary Museum and was used as a hospital both during and after the battle, housing some 600 men at various times. The floors inside have some wood stained with blood. The energies are very strong. It is a paid museum, but well worth it. The last soldier was a Union colonel who was well enough to travel home in September.
The last wounded soldier.
Yeah.
Was a Union colonel. Wow. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. All right, so
Yeah.
let's watch Jeffrey the Librarian, if I can pull up the right video. You know me, guys. It's not a perfect podcast. Oh, thank you so much, Sasha Bell. Oh, I just love you, sweetie. I've got the best mods. I really, really do. Look at this. Thank you so much. Yeah, get over there. He's got some great stuff. Spends a lot of times on the maps and really explains it well. Lists his sources and stuff at the end. It's a wonderful little channel. So go give him some support. All right, here we go. And then we'll come back. We'll do our slideshow and tell you some of the other things that happened at the bash. It's absolutely amazing. And then later we went to the Hoover House with our wonderful friend Jim here, who came and joined us in the chat, and some other wonderful people, and I've got their pictures too. So I'm excited about tonight. I hope you like it, guys. Pay attention because it's going to go really fast through the beginning and then the end of that 3 days. So I'm not dragging you through the whole battle. There's 1.5 million stories. Believe me, I could do night after night after night at Gettysburg for the next 5 years and probably not even cover it. So here you go. Hope you like it.
I'll be.
The first day of the battle, July 1st, 1863, will happen northwest of town. Union cavalry under Buford will spot Confederate forces approaching down the Chambersburg Pike, here highlighted in white. Now, coming from the northwest down the Chambersburg Pike is Henry Heath's Infantry Division, the first element of A.P. Hill's Corps of the Confederate Army. And they're going to see Buford's cavalry on McPherson's Ridge, and they're going to attack, thinking that this is just cavalry. By the time of the Civil War, cavalry are not meant to fight pitched battles. They are really scouts. And so Heath is pretty confident that he can dislodge Buford from McPherson's Ridge. However, Buford puts up a fight, and he puts up a fight long enough for the first elements of the Union Army to start arriving from the south, and this is General Reynolds' Corps. And now, unfortunately, General Reynolds is killed shortly after arriving on the battlefield, and he is replaced by Doubleday. However, the Union Army is starting to arrive, and they are taking positions on McPherson's Ridge. The third day of the battle, the last day of the battle, will begin where the second day ended. So we'll zoom in to the Union right flank to Culp's Hill. Union General Meade is going to actually beat Robert E. Lee to the punch. Before 4 in the morning, Slocum's Corps is going to reinforce Culp's Hill. and the Union Army is going to drive out Johnson's rebel division from the vicinity of Culp's Hill before lunchtime. The major action of the third day will now center to the southwest of Culp's Hill along Cemetery Ridge. So we'll zoom out. In many ways, Robert E. Lee's plan for the third day is very similar to his plan from the day before. He is going to essentially attempt a strike up the Emmitsburg Road to attack Cemetery Hill. However, his plan does not include an attack on Culp's Hill because that was already repulsed by Slocum's corps. Just like on the second day, Robert E. Lee is going to have Longstreet strike up from the south up the Emmitsburg Road to attack Cemetery Hill. Now, Longstreet had misgivings about the second day, and he had outright protests about this day's attack. He told General Lee, "I have been a soldier all my life. I have been with soldiers engaged in fights by couples, by squads, companies, regiments, divisions, and armies, and should know as well as anyone what soldiers can do. It is my opinion that no 15,000 men ever arrayed for battle can take that position." However, Robert E. Lee was determined to take the fight to the Union here now. Longstreet's freshest division is Pickett's division. So Pickett will be striking from the southwest to Cemetery Hill, and the other division that's going to be involved in this is Pettigrew's division. Now, Pettigrew has replaced Heath as a divisional commander because Heath was badly wounded on the first day's fighting. And that's actually quite a metaphor for the division as a whole because that division had been in a pretty heavy fight on the first day. Before the infantry attack begins, there's going to be a heavy bombardment of Cemetery Ridge from Confederate guns going from the Peach Orchard in the south all the way up Seminary Ridge. Shortly after 1:00 p.m., some 143 Confederate artillery pieces open up, firing on Cemetery Ridge. Union artillery counterfires. There is so much artillery firing that the whole valley between Cemetery Ridge and Seminary Ridge is filled with smoke. Union General Meade has a plan. He knows he has strong ground, and he wants Robert E. Lee to attack. The Union artilleryman, Hunt, follows suit, and he purposely silences his artillery. The ruse by the Union artilleryman Hunt appeared to work. Shortly after the Union guns fell silent, Pickett and Pettigrew mustered from their hiding spots behind ridges and in woods and began the almost 1 mile walk across open ground to Cemetery Ridge. However, as soon as the infantry began their march, Union guns from Little Round Top and Cemetery Hill began bombarding them. We will now zoom into the open ground that became Pickett's charge. Seminary Ridge is lined in red. Cemetery Ridge is lined in blue. The Emmitsburg Road goes right up the middle in white. To the northeast is Ziegler's Grove. And right in the middle of the field is a house called Codori House. The angle is in black, and the clump of trees is next to the angle. Now, the Union infantry are waiting on Cemetery Ridge. The left flank is Stannard's Vermont Brigade, and the extreme right flank is the 8th Ohio. And some of the officers present are Hayes, Hancock, Gibbon, and Doubleday. Pickett's division is going to be moving in from the southwest, and Pettigrew's division is going to be coming directly from the west. The brigade commanders in Pickett's division are Garnett, Kemper, and Armistead. And in Pettigrew's division, there's Marshall, Fry, Lane, and Lawrence. There are additional brigades that will come in support. The attackers are going to be receiving long-range artillery, and then once they get to the Emmitsburg Road, they're going to be getting hit very hard with short-range artillery. To the far north, the 8th Ohio will send Pettigrew's left flank running. Pickett's division is going to swing up the Emmitsburg Road towards the Angle. However, they are going to be hit on their right flank by Stannard's Vermont Brigade. Garnett and Armistead's brigades are going to throw themselves over the stone wall at the Angle. So they actually do make it to the Union lines on Cemetery Ridge. However, they are now engulfed in hand-to-hand fighting at the center of the Union line, and they will surrender en masse. At other points in the line, only a few Confederates make it, and the Yankees at some points hold their fire out of admiration. Of the 11,000 Confederates that participated in Pickett's charge, almost half of them did not return back to Seminary Ridge. So on the third day, the Union Army pushed the rebels out of the Culp's Hill area, and they also defended Cemetery Ridge from a frontal attack. Both sides sustained over 20,000 casualties in 3 days. It was the biggest battle of the Civil War, and some would say it was the turning point.
Sundown on Cemetery Ridge. Once the Confederate tide recedes and Pettigrew and Pickett's division falls back defeated, this last spectacular charge by the Army of Northern Virginia had failed, and it had ended there on that ridge and on the land that was part of a 12-acre farm owned by a widower of 3 children, a simple farm owned by this man who fled for his family's sake the day before Union troops took possession of it upon Cemetery Ridge. He was a hard-working man who raised figs and grew hay, and by all accounts was a symbol of everything the Confederacy said could never exist. And as the sun went down, not only on the 3rd of July, but figuratively on the Army of Northern Virginia, it fell on the land of a freed slave named Abraham Bryan, who would come back to what was left of his home and rebuilt his homestead and began again to farm. If there is anyone who could be called a victor of that hot, bloody day in July, we must include Mr. Abraham Bryan, who remained free and held that farm till he sold it in 1869.
If that doesn't bring it home, nothing does. Freed slave, Abraham Bryan. Here's to you, buddy. Here's to every one of those soldiers, every one of those Confederates that climbed 2, not 1, but 2 fences on either side of that road. And when Armistead got to that angle, he put his hat on his sword and he held it up. And he said, "Come on, boys, for old Virginia. Remember, fighting for old Virginia." There wasn't one heart in there that didn't believe that they were doing the right thing that day. They gave it all they had. That's why I still talk about it, because they're still talking. And sometimes they talk to me. And sometimes they talk to Jim, don't they, Jim? Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you, thank you. That's just one of the stories. Gettysburg is filled with these stories of the civilians, of the drummer boys. Youngest was 9. Oh, Clem. I mean, just there's so many stories. And Donnie, was there a story that touched you at Gettysburg this year that you saw that what stuck with you? Besides the monuments, they were absolutely gorgeous, and we'll talk about that. You saw some of them. You saw Donnie with Uncommon Belief under the tree at the angle. You saw Donnie standing at the cannons where Lee talked to Longstreet, and Longstreet tried to talk Lee out of that. A lot of people like to blame Lee. I think everybody thought God was on their side, you know, but I think it was something that we just had to wrestle out together. Isn't that a shame? We couldn't just, pick our 2 best people and do rock, paper, scissors or some kind of crap like that, you know? But what did John Brown say, Donnie? That there was going to be gnashing of teeth and
yeah, I don't remember the exact quote.
I don't either, but he had so many of them that but the thing is he had a premonition that there was going to be war across the land to make not even just, I mean, you can't make it just, but to finish it, that there couldn't, I guess in other words, basically to stop all this inhumane action of, that humans are doing to each other. They had to have some more inhumane action, but just that a bombastic, explosion. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, something terribly biblical, Micah. Absolutely, absolutely. And he knew about this. I would dare say at least a year before he was telling people about this, because he was telling Frederick Douglass about it. So it's deep for those who we started out with more than we ended with, but this is important. And please understand, if this isn't your cup of tea or whatever, yes, absolutely. We'll see you next Sunday, and we're going to have Tim Cromwell on. We're going to have Jim on. We're going to have so many people that I met at the bash. A whole new bunch of wonderful minds and talents. But I would understand. I would do this if nobody watched it, just to put it up on YouTube in case at one point some kid stumbles on it and learns something. That life is fragile. And please don't think it's not paranormal or supernatural, because it's every bit of that and more. But with that video, I'd like to thank again Jeffrey the librarian. That was his audio. I did the video, and I tried to make it short, but Sapphire Elf and Hello Darling in Australia never knew the story. So if one, you see what I mean? So Donnie, and before I'll shut up, I swear. But I did the explosions in that. You're welcome. It took me forever to do all those little things, but it just added to the story. We had to have some of that. But Abraham Bryan, Donnie, your thoughts? Wow.
Yeah, that was a new story. I never heard that one before. Yeah, there were. It's got a lot of interesting stories. Just a lot of Gettysburg overall just has a lot of human to human interesting stories. I don't know if you've ever watched, for people in the chat, if you've never watched the movie Gettysburg. I started watching it about 2 hours in. It's like a 4-hour movie, but
a little over.
Yeah, I'd say the best part about it was just the speeches that people would give, and the dialogues, and the human components, and the people talking about like, oh, I went to school with this guy.
Yeah.
And we were buddies, and he's like one of my best friends, and now I got to like try to kill his men. It was a messed up time. It was messed up.
And perhaps kill him. And that's the point. Brother.
And then one of those guys got like pretty close to the other general, and they had kind of died in the same area, right?
Amistad got.
Was it Amistad?
Yeah, he got to the Longstreet well, so many of them went to West Point or went to school together, and of course fought in the Mexican War and everything else, But there were some that were such friends. In fact, the night before in Gettysburg, they tell some of it where Amistad and Reynolds, who was said to be General Reynolds the Supreme. That's
I
how
have
much
to
everybody
disagree
loved
with
him.
Glenn Danison. I thought Martin Sheen was excellent in that movie.
Well,
That guy had a freaking awesome performance.
this
Him and
is a
Jeff
lot.
Daniels, they killed it.
Yeah,
And Tom
they all did.
Berenger. Tom
They
Berenger
all
was
did.
great.
Tom Berenger is good as Longstreet
Yeah.
too. Yeah, the thing is, oh, the lady in the hat store told me that Tom Berenger wanted a big old hat, and that that Longstreet wore a billy cap in at Gettysburg. But in Berenger's defense, he was known to wear that big old hat, and I thought he looked rather dashing as
Yeah.
Longstreet. He did. I think he is
Yeah.
performed well. But back at the Lee thing, a lot of people felt that Martin Sheen played Lee a little bit too quiet, a little bit too reserved, a little bit too ethereal, could I say? In some ways, is that a bad choice there, Glenn, of words? More because he also had this gruff side and everything else command. He could, the way he could command, but again, we only know in description and how well the description was. He was extremely beloved, and a lot of people liked the Gods and Generals version. And Chad, help me out, who played I know it as well as my own fantastic actor that played Lee in Gods and Generals?
Robert Duvall.
Thank you. Was it?
I think so.
Was it Robert? Was it Robert
I
Duvall?
never saw the movie, but I think I read
Help
that.
us out. It just off the top of my head, I wasn't sure. But anyway, people like that because he played it a little bit more edgy and a little bit more abrasive in moments. But then went into that gentle kind of thing. Thank you, James. Excellent. So there's a lot of portray. Everybody's got their favorite. I wasn't really fond of what's this Daniel Day-Lewis's Lincoln, but I would have left a basket of kittens for him in Last Mohicans
You know who I was
without looking back, by the way. And that's
by the
saying
way,
a lot.
you know who I was not fond of in that movie, in the Gettysburg movie, the one that I was not
Tell it.
fond of, and it wasn't because the performance was bad, but because I think he was miscast, was Sam Elliott. Because the guy was like, I was like, yo, you're supposed to be a Union soldier. Why do you have a Texas accent? That like threw me out of it. I was like,
I'm sorry, ladies, but we're going to vote Donnie out on this one. Am I right? I don't care. It was Sam Elliott playing Buford, talking about the high ground, saving the day, starting the battle, on a horse. Full stop. Full stop. Mic drop.
I just think they could have gotten. I just think that role could have been cast better. That's all.
Oh, it couldn't have been any better. And he did the. I have to disagree. We'll agree to disagree. But no, yeah, absolutely love it. He was eye candy for the ladies. You bet he was.
Sam Elliott can do no wrong.
Still is on Rewind. Absolutely, Sam Elliott can do no wrong. There you go. There you go. And I don't know what Mike said. Lots of TV shows came from. Oh, there we go. See, this is true. He speaks the truth. He speaks true. So everybody's going to have their favorites and not. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't think it could have been any more perfect. Just picturing him up there when he's looking through the spyglass and he's in the cupola and everything else, and looking all around. Oh my gosh! If you stand on some of these, there's some observatories there you can get up in and look and see how they saw things. We walked along ditches that had sunken over time, where generals, not knowing what else to do or having little or no understanding of what was going on, lined up all their men and just put them in horrible situations. The thing was not to focus so much on the bad judgment and the bad calls and the bad on the spot, because it was just as many, if not more, good ones that saved the day for a lot of people and really moved this battle. back and forth, back and forth. But it was the men did it without question and stood up and just lined up. So much so that this one ridge right in front of the Peace Monument, which is an eternal flame, it was beautiful, wasn't it, Donnie?
Yeah.
Were
It was
just
real.
football fields long of
Yeah.
580 to 1,000 men just standing there and just mowed down and fell in like a perfect line all the way down as they stood. And they just pushed them into a ditch, and the farmer grew crops over it the next, year. They weren't moving them all. It took months, if not years, if ever, to move these guys. They're still there. So, there's so much back and forth, so much back and forth. But Donnie, we have some slides here from the bash. You want to take a quick look at? Because
Sure.
we did more than just walk around there, and we also took Mark Nesbitt has this app that he did, and it is a paranormal driving tour where you go ahead and put it on, and as you drive with your location, GPS, and all that stuff, you stop, and it tells you paranormal stories that have happened around you, and also a little bit about the battle and things that not only happened then but recently. And it was just fascinating, wasn't it, Donnie?
The Bash. You're talking about the
The
Ghost app or the
the
Bash
app, the
itself?
ghost app, the ghost app, and you can read it all. You can actually read it. You don't just have to listen to it. You can, listen to it at home too, and tell people about it and everything else. And it's really great. You just download it, and it's yours forever. So I thought that was really interesting. So we got to hear some new ghost stories,
Yeah.
at battle spots. So, but that
Hmm.
was awesome. I think standing under at the angle too with you guys. There we go.
Yeah, and
Wait
then
a
you
minute.
go to all the
There it went.
different spots in the battlefield, and you see all the different houses and all the ghost stories associated with them. That was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Jim, absolutely. The app is absolutely phenomenal. I loved it.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can read it, the full narrative, or you can listen to it. There's sound effects and all these other things, and you can get out and look around the place that the different ghost stories and paranormal happenings have happened. It's really really good. Absolutely worth it. I told him and Carol both. I absolutely loved it. But this is at the Wyndham. This is the beginning of the bash, and it's everything ghost, paranormal. A lot of your favorite TV paranormal stars were there. They even had some late, some girl from some TLC reality show, some kind of gypsy thing. She was all there, all sequined out.
I think it's a
Then,
reality show about these
yeah,
psychic girls that all live in one
hmm
house and they just like be all psychic. I don't know.
oh, I don't know, but she
I
was
don't
all
know.
sequined up and
Mhm.
ready to go. So
Yeah.
there's that. So we even had the Ghostbusters mobile here. Look at this, and a big old Stay Puff.
Ecto One, Stay
Yep,
Puft Marshmallow, and yep, and
this is
there's a Batmobile.
there's the Batmobile. This is actually Heroes for Hire. I highly recommend you get over there and follow him on Facebook and his Instagram page. This guy and his family give so much to kids that are terminally ill. They want to be Batgirl for the day, or they want to just ride in the Batmobile, or they want to be a superhero, and he'll go get them the costume and he'll ride them around, and they'll just fight crime, and they fake arrest people and stuff like that to help these kids. Day a little bit better. So it's an absolutely wonderful charity, and he's there every year at the Bash. And again, if I didn't say it, it is Steve and Pamela Berry, who this is their baby, and they do a fantastic job. And I think I think it's at least double the size as it was last year. So there you go. So here's another picture. Here's for hire with our wonderful friend Mike Laciana, who I absolutely love. This man's energy. I love his paranormal investigative mind. I love his integrity and his love for history. And he also is with Heritage Hunters, and his show is Journey Through the Past, and it is on available on Amazon Prime. It has completed its first season. It's going into its second season. He does the editing, the research, everything else, and he is an absolute lover of history and a wonderful, wonderful human being, as well as a fantastic investigator. So there's that. That's Michael Laciana, and this
And a
little
great guy
darling.
too to be
Oh
around.
yeah,
He was a pleasure to hang out with. That was a
all
really
my.
cool time.
I'm telling you, all my friends out there, Donnie, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
I've already vetted them
He was
for
a
you.
really
I got
cool
the
dude.
cream of the
I like
crop.
him a lot. Yeah.
You know, we're the cream of the crop out there with the wonderful people, and it's just each person makes the other person even better. I mean, Jim and Dave from KSPS, I've loved them. They're my brothers. Their family is another extension of that. Each one is just as sweet and also in the paranormal involved and understanding with heart and integrity, which makes all the difference. So you cut through all of the BS and you just go in there and it's like, does spirit have a message, or does spirit need help, or is there a ghost here that needs help? I mean, you just get right to it. You just achieve so much in a very short amount of time, and every single event that happens is more profound than the next. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm serious. Am I not, Donnie? It's just
No,
one
yeah,
thing after another.
yeah,
Absolutely. Donnie
yeah.
was there. He saw it. So we
That
just
was a
have some wonderful people.
pretty intense experience actually for
Yeah,
me.
and Mike was there at the Hoover House that night, and we will have him on, and he can tell you all about it. He's already looking forward to it and getting his stuff already. It's fantastic EVPs. This is the gentleman that Steve is always telling you about that has gets fantastic evidence because it's just who these guys are. They're just all wonderful. There's Donnie, and
There's
this
me.
cannon is right where by the Virginia Monument. And if I'm not mistaken, that monument is very close to where Lee and Longstreet, like I said, were debating about the third day's activities, meaning Pickett's charge and everything else. That is hilarious. Isn't he terrific? That is Heroes for Hire. And oh, I didn't tell you about the little girl. The little girl here, it was her birthday. So this charity went out and got her the biggest cake she ever saw. The entire place sang her happy birthday, and she is one of the little girls who, this was one of her wishes. And there's so many kids that this thing helps. So please, think about going. If you ever want to go to Gettysburg, this is the time. It goes to a great, great charity. So there you go. All right, this is looking out from that, and that is in the middle of, I think that's the Corby house, Cordy house. Okay, now this is the Wills house where we went. This is where Lincoln stayed the night before the Gettysburg Address. Now this is part of the diorama, but it looks like it basically like it did back then. This is what's called the square because it's not a circle, but you still go around the circle in the Skylar is 10. Yep, wonderful. Was that Skylar? We were only calling her Batgirl, so I don't know. I didn't know her name. I didn't want to get it wrong. Okay, that's what the Wills house looked like when Lincoln stayed the night. There was 38 people staying in this house that night, and so much so that on the third floor there was 4 or 5 ladies that were sharing a room, and 4 ladies in the bed broke the bed that night, and they were very well-to-do ladies, so it must have been a funny scene. This is inside the Wills house. This is a huge diorama that they have made there of Gettysburg, the town, what it looked like. Oh, is it Jackson Lee? I didn't know. I thought it was. Never mind. Just erase all that. I didn't poke around in it too much, and usually when he's riding around with kids, it's because they're sick. So thank you, Jackson, for fixing that. But okay, so. This is a great diorama, and you can look at it and see exactly how it looked when Lincoln stayed. This is the room that Lincoln slept in. This is the bed. There was some controversy about that, but this is the bed. And let's see, that's the table he sat at to put, like, kind of fine tune the Gettysburg Address. Contrary to popular belief, he did not write it on the train. He had been working on pieces of it. It has been known, has been called by scholars and historians an absolute masterpiece of just the way he got everything from the past, the present, and the future, and so much in 272 words. It's an absolute phenomenon, and he was so humble about it. It blows your mind. So there is Jim. That is Jim that is in the chat with us right now. He is fooling around with some super duper equipment there. I don't know tech. I can know your EMF meters and a lot of different things, the obvious and things like that. But Jim and Dave and some of these guys, Mike and Mike Simpson, who could not be with us from Ohio, we missed him terrible. We talked so much about him. I feel like he was there, but that's Jim in the wonderful and lovely Hoover House, sitting at the bar, I believe. And this is us. Donnie, do you want to talk a little bit about this and what you thought when you walked in here and everything else? And I'll tell.
Well, yeah, we did a table tipping session. That's Jenny and Bob and Jim, and that's on the other side of Jen is Laura, and that's James, who was with Mike. He was doing like
Wonderful
reporting,
guy.
and he eventually went on. And then there's you, Cisco, at the other end, and basically, everyone in the room kind of tries to get into a quiet place mentally. We all try to focus. I guess, for lack of a better term, like our third eye onto the table. Usually the people are, getting readings and seeing or stating what they see and feel. And yeah, I don't know, Cisco.
And the cool part about this is it's in the Hoover House, and this is it was James and Bill, I believe, and they were Mike's friends, came from North Carolina. But again, of that mindset and intent and heart and integrity, just the best tech and everything else, and they get their energy meshed so well with everybody in the room. Everybody there sitting at that table is basically at the same point of understanding what we understand, what we think we understand at this point, and completely open to the Hoover House spirits, who have a great reputation for, if there's somebody coming in that needs a message, these spirits will connect with the spirit guides or whatever you want to call it on the other side, that know that the people are coming, and they're like waiting sometimes days before. They are excited because they know that they're coming. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. It's just time after time after time, just proven up. And people usually sit down at this table and get wonderful messages. I've done it several times. This is called table tipping, and I don't want to get too much into detail with it, but basically, some of the people that are here, some have tables that they've purchased at antique malls or antique stores, and drawn to them, and their spirit guide, or the spirit that they've connected with, actually almost uses that table, channels through that table, and actually answers questions by tipping and leaning towards the person who wants to talk to, leaning in. I've actually gotten hugs, where that little girl that we crossed last year leaned in and hugged me before she turned around, and I felt like she turned around and ran away. And several people in the room and in the home at this time have multiple different abilities. And it's just amazing for somebody to come sit down at the table and hear from a lost loved one, a lost pet, a lost friend, and get so quickly validated answers. They're validating it. And I saw something, I will not tell the person because it's their story, but I have to share. I don't know, Donnie, do you want to share any of yours? Like either time this is twice now you've done this, right? 2 separate times?
Yeah. And
can you briefly give us a little bit? I don't want to get too personal with you, but
yeah, no, it's not that it's so personal. It was just that well, I guess the first time it was the spirit of my great grandmother, and I had to speak Korean the whole time. And then the second time, I guess she came back, and then I had to speak Korean. But then she started responding to everyone else's questions. I was like, wait a minute, why am I speaking Korean then?
It was funny because at one point Donnie asked a specific question as the specific word in it. Let's just say it that way. And he says this all in Korean. I don't speak Korean. At the same time, I'm getting like almost a follow-up question. So I just asked it. And it actually matched to what Donnie had said in Korean, but I said it in English and she answered too. And Paradox, I don't know which way you're going. Either the spirits can easily tip the tables or the people. But I can tell you by being there more than once and having serious paranormal investigators, some of them somewhat skeptic about everything, not in a bad way, but in a scientific kind of way. And they're circling us. They've looked at the table. They've looked at the floor. Our feet are tucked under. Our fingers are barely touching the table. Barely. There's no arm movement. There's no leg movement, no twitches, no wires, no strings, no mirrors, no smoke. It is amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. And it happens so quickly here because, like I said, it has to do with intent and heart and reason and the willingness to just all work together as a group in love. Nobody goes in there and says, I want to hear from my spirit, my loved one. No, everybody sitting at the table is open to the fact that the person that needs to hear it. Oh, thank you, Paradox. Thank you. I didn't think so, but I didn't want to make an assumption. So everybody, well, it's good to know information anyway. So see, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So everybody at the table there is also, what I've noticed, is open to the fact that they don't need to get a message. Do you feel what I'm saying? Because if the message is really for everybody in the room in some level, if that makes sense. And the personal message for the person, which that's exactly what it is, because you're also sitting down and people are sharing their most personal times of the loss of these people that they love, or getting information of something that they're doing, or making a choice for the future, or how they're doing now, or what they had to do in the past. This is deeply emotional stuff, but the atmosphere is so full of light, so full of love, that everybody here is so self-sacrificing that they're giving their energy so these spirits can use this. And at one time, this table was just shaking in anticipation to answer. I mean, it was just like raring to go. They said, now I haven't seen it, but they said that they've seen the table fly towards a person and do other things and everything else. But not last night, seems like last night, a couple nights ago, I'm going to be very careful telling you this story because it's not mine and I don't want to get into anybody's business, okay? But I have to tell it somehow because I need to share this with you. It was extremely intense and profound. And many things that happened that night were. But this person, if I had to say they were on the fence, I'd say that their legs were over into the skeptical side or the non-believer or the WTF side. That's just my guess. And they weren't even sitting at the table. They were just off in another part of the house, in view. And the spirit came through. Now, like I said, there's a spirit attached to the table that acts as like a gatekeeper, a guide, and brings these spirits in and says, okay, this is how you do it. So that's how that's done. And this person's relative came through, and several people at the table were getting that this person was ill, died in a hospital or similar situation, and the other person felt bad because they didn't go to visit them as much as they felt like they should have when they were sick. Does that make sense so far? Donnie,
Yep.
am I doing all right? Okay.
Yep.
So they validated via, I don't know if it was Jim or somebody else, a spirit bouncer, kind of, sort of. So, yeah. And, they have bounced some negative spirits out of there. So, Froze, you're not far off because that's exactly it. That's the energy in this place. Just like Shanley Hotel was a representative of a darker vortex, a darker place, this is the extreme opposite. This is all light and love and unselfish, unconditional, everything. It's a beautiful place. So she comes through This person comes through, a relative, and they validated via somebody saying, okay, we have to find the first letter of your name. Is it an A? Nothing. B, nothing. C, nothing. All the way down till it hit the letter. Yes. They validated, and the living human being validated that was the letter. That's who I thought it was. We go on through, and I believe it was Bob and I, this lovely gentleman here in the Hawaiian shirt, lovely, lovely, highly high abilities, and just coming into them and understanding them and rolling with the flow over, it later in life, you know what I'm saying? This is when the consciousness hits. I'm telling you, it's happening to so many people. But he's fantastic. And I told him, I think it was last year or the year before, you have more abilities than most people sitting in this house. And he didn't believe me. So again, spirit. So this person comes through, validated her initials or whatever, and Bob and I look up, and I can't remember who at the table said it. It could have possibly been Jim. Was this person in a wheelchair? Human validated, yes. He got the feeling. And then Bob and I both looked at each other and said at the same time, not anymore. And we smiled at each other. One of those beautiful little paranormal moments. We both got the same message loud and clear in our head. She was saying, not anymore. And everybody else, got the same feeling. And all of a sudden, the table starts to move. And Jenny says she wants to go to this person. And it was a little bit of ways. And we thought that we're all having to stand up, pushed our chairs back, and just trying to lightly keep our fingers on this table and move with it. And it's sliding, and it's kind of, it's on a wooden legs on a wooden floor, but it's still trying to slide. And then all of a sudden, it starts to walk, lifts one side and boom, like 2 feet. And then the next side and boom, next side and boom. If you know what I mean, it's incredible. And I was getting, oh my God, it's walking. Somebody in the group said, did she have a leg amputated? Yes. Yes. The living human validated, several of them in the room. And most of us at the table at the time says, she's showing her not anymore. She can walk now and use the table to do it. One of the most profound
erected in 1910 at a cost of 182.
I don't know what the heck that is. One of the most profound paranormal, supernatural, love-filled moments I've ever seen in my life. This table walked all the way, and us with it, with our fingers, just laughing and just amazing in this energy, all the way to the person, leaned in and hugged them, pushed hard because you can feel it, and then held it there for a moment. And when it was all done, righted itself, and we did as well. And then it slid back to where we were, like it could have done it all the time. So what does that tell? So what does that tell you? That tells you that it was a deliberate thing. To me, it tells me it was a deliberate thing to show the loved one that they could walk again, not in a wheelchair anymore, baby, and walked all the way to her and hugged this person. And then slid back because the slick spirit could do it all the time. And then we all sat down, we continued, finished it out. And several people that night got very profound messages from their loved ones. And it absolutely drained me, Donnie. Donnie was witness. I was just like,
I was there. I was in the room. I had unfortunately missed the part when the table was walking. I had left the room, and then just as it went in for the hug, that's like when I walked into the room, and I was like, whoa, what did I miss? I was like really
Yeah.
kicking myself in the butt for having left the room, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, I'm telling
Um,
you, it was something to see. And
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff, if you are of right mind and right intent, these spirits know if you're not. They do. The ones at the Hoover House. They're so in tune with everybody who frequents that place, the owners, the combination, the whole group. And a lot of times they will not allow people in there that, the spirits, or if they do come in of one mind, they'll change it for you. It's an amazing place. So I highly recommend going to Hoover House. It's a beautiful place, beautiful in Waynesboro, and you've heard me speak of it before. They're doing weddings and all kind of stuff. Just beautiful. Get a room, spend the night, and do your own investigation. They don't allow any provoking and stuff like that because it's just rile stuff up. There is some dastardly dudes in the cellar. It used to be a speakeasy, and I think a lot of them, even them, it's like they're there almost for like a healing because the other spirits there just aren't going to allow any shenanigans. So, it's a safe place and they don't want it riled up. So you go in there, and I know several that have passed through there. Probably, oh gosh, it's probably well past the double digits by now of spirits have gone there and been crossed over, including some orphans that have been around for about 150 years. And the kindness it's just amazing. So anyway, I'm sorry about I messed up that slideshow a little bit, but Donnie, anything else on that one? That
um,
table thing, Matt, wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it is a pretty intense experience, for sure.
Yeah. And
And
so that's
as
and
long
this
as
is
you do it with the right people, you
oh
got to
yeah,
make sure
yeah.
you do it with the right people. You really do.
Absolutely. And Jim's saying it's a colorful group in the basement for sure. But Jim, one of the things that has touched my heart and mind and been absolutely joyful to hear is that a lot of them are helping each other out using the living as well as the dead, as well as spirit guides, just to fix it all. It's like almost like a place to go for healing. It's like in some cases, it's like a waiting room to get some of them in the right frequency before they can cross over. And or some, I don't know, maybe that sounds weird, but it right now it makes sense. What do you think, Donnie? But see the
Yeah.
smiles on
Yeah.
everybody's face. It's just the sweetest thing. Everybody at this table is just as sweet as all. Again,
It's
just
a
the best
privilege
of
to be
people.
there.
And this is James
Yeah.
and everybody, Donnie, and it's just wonderful.
There's
Uncommon belief.
Tone looking all bored.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was thinking he's deep into it too. He's
No, he
just
was
chilling.
deep in thought. He had a good one as well.
Yep.
His was a
Sir
very good.
Bowden is
Yeah.
saying he helped cross over his wife's uncle there, either now or there. Did you meet at the Hoover? Because Sir Bowden's been there. Hello, love. Good to see you.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Hey,
But
Jackson.
yeah, I feel very
This is
lucky to
Pam.
have
Go
been
ahead.
at the Hoover,
Yeah.
a couple of times. It was man, that place
And at the
really is
Bash.
like magical.
And at the Bash, this is Michael Luciano again. This is the beautiful and wonderful and big-hearted Pamela Barry, who takes such wonderful care of the Hoover House as well as many other things. That they're into everything. I'm telling you, with haunted. They're going to do haunted ghost tours. They've got a new bus and just so many wonderful things happening out there. So absolutely plan your trip now for spring, or I can't imagine how beautiful it is at Christmas, but I know the Bash is going to be next July. It's going to be a little earlier next year. So think about it.
It was a
And
lot of
that's
fun.
also, and
It was
there's
cool.
Dave, and there's Dave from KSPS. That's my brother right there, man. Wonderful investigator of the same, ilk as everybody right here. It's just that they're past all the BS. They're just into the what really matters, and it's wonderful. And there's Dave Schrader with James and Mike. Dave was pretty cool. I talked to him. I've talked to him a couple times on the phone, and I got to meet him face to face and talk to him. And I asked him to come on. He said absolutely he would. Of course, he's busy through the next couple months with Halloween coming up, but maybe in November we'll get him on and you can talk to him. He's got a new show out right now, and yeah, he spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people. He's really decent guy. And here's the group right here. These are the guys I hang out with. Can you believe this? These are our wonderful friends. This is Ernie and Dave right here from Elite Paranormal, and of course Dave from KSPS. And Scott Porter couldn't be there, and there was a couple other missing, but this is the hearts and minds right here of the Old Bald Guy Society. Wonderful investigators, every single solitary one of them, and they've all been on my podcast, and you've heard how wonderful they are. So yeah, these are my brothers right here, man. And here's some more.
Yeah.
Two new ones, James
They
and
were
Bill
all like
and
really
Mike.
cool and nice, and
Yeah.
really fun guys to be around too.
Aren't they wonderful? I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it's just no BS, right to the heart of the matter. You get so many things happen, just boom, 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 right after the other. Like I said, it's just amazing. More happens in this group in 20 minutes than a whole season of Paranormal. I promise you. Thank you. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I ain't scared of nothing. These are the guys I hang out with, these crazy folks. I love them. Every one of them I love. And there's another picture of Abraham Bryant, because that just blew my mind when I heard that the end of Pickett's charge actually ended in his acreage, 12 acres he had, and the federal troops had this house occupied. They absolutely destroyed his fences, trampled his crops. Half of his orchard was ruined, and this poor guy comes back, still free, family intact, and goes to rebuilding his farm and got right back to work as best he could, just like everybody did, the South and the North, when this was all over. The question is, why did we have to tear it all up in the first place? Crazy, right? There you go. But Abraham Bryant, freed slave, and that's where the, like I said, like the sun went down on that day. It also kind of went down. The Army of Northern Virginia really never took over a battle after that. It did go on for almost 2 more years. But at that point in time, Pickett's and Pettigrew and Trimble and everybody that charged that across that mile, it was just too much. It just ripped them apart. And just to let you know, after Armistead died, he made it to the cannon, fell there, was shot, and mortally wounded. And he had asked, the last thing he did was ask about Reynolds, who was a Union general. And he was told that Reynolds had also been wounded. Reynolds survived. Armistead did not. And it was very sad, because that was, they felt like brothers. They'd gone through so much together. This is the, I'm going to say it wrong, the Cordy House. Now, this is the one that we stopped and saw on Mark's Nesbitt's app. And there's a ghost story that goes with this. Should I tell it? Got to hear a ghost
Go
story?
for it. Yeah.
Okay, now in this basement, this house is smack dab in the middle of Pickett's charge. And at the time it was occupied, there were a small family, a young family that hid in the cellar. Constant bombardment, you can imagine. And you can imagine the wounded being pulled in there for shelter and everything else. But it was smack dab in the middle of almost a mile of field that they crossed. And then they crossed the road. And this road here, there was a 5-foot fence on both sides. It was just a dirt rut at the time. But they had to crawl over both fences and run across the road and get back. I mean, it's just nuts. But anyway, Mark tells a story about a family that stayed here. Now, most of the people that stay in these houses they work at, or say like the national park system, they're guards and all the, just so they can watch it too. It's also like security. But one family had a teenage girl that was home alone. And this is, of course, more modern times. And they were off at work or whatever. And she was there doing her homework in the refinished basement that had been fixed and renovated years past the Civil War. And she's in the basement, and she hears upstairs, she hears the door open and close. She hears, steps coming across above her through the kitchen, through the dining room, through the hall, and back and forth. And drawers, cabinets banging and things like that. Like somebody had broken in and was looking for something to steal. back and forth in the living room and out the living, and it's all wood floor. She can hear all this above her. She grabs the phone because, like I said, it was modern times. This was a young teenager. She grabs the phone. She calls the guard, the National Guard house, and tells them, I have somebody is in my house, and call the police, whatever. But she knows these guys are closer, right? So she's on the phone with them. She says, I hear the steps are coming across the kitchen floor, and bang, 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 towards the basement door that led to the steps where she was. And she hears them walk up to the door, and she's telling them on the phone, he's coming to the door, he's coming to the door. Here's the door open, and she hears just the first footfalls on the steps coming down, and she's trying to hide. And she's telling him, he's coming down the stairs, he's coming down the stairs. Right then, she hears the kitchen door fly open and a familiar male voice yell out. It was one of the guards, her name. And he runs across the kitchen, down here. She runs across the kitchen right to the basement door, and down the steps he runs. And she thinks that he's going to run into the guy on the stairs. He never does. She stands up and she yells, and she recognizes the man and tells him what happened. And she said, where did he go? Where did he go? He must have ran back up. He was almost halfway down the stairs. They go out now. Another guard pulls up, and they all go around the outside of the house. Nobody. You could see the field around here. Well, there was only one answer. He was more than likely a ghost. And that happens a lot in this house. Think about the dead that went through. Please do.
Winfield Hancock was a Union general who was best friends with Armistead. They were best men in each other's wedding. Hancock was wounded in the Union Center on the third day, but survived the war. Reynolds was killed around Chambersburg Pike on the first day, and yes, Armistead, upon being wounded and falling into Union hands, inquired as to Hancock's well-being, and was so dismayed when he heard his friend was badly wounded.
Yep, 100%. 100%. And had given Longstreet a package. It is said within that package was a small personal Bible that he had to give to Elmira, and that was Elmira Hancock, Winfield Scott's wife, whom he dearly loved as well. They all, in their later teens and early 20s and 30s, they all came up together, all went to each other's houses and went to all the officers', graduations and celebrations, and they were family. And this is what happens when you can't settle a dispute and you start pointing guns at each other. It's horrible. Okay, so that's one. And that's pretty much, this is outside the Wills house. And, although Gettysburg is such a long and winding story with a million stories in between, that was pretty much the long and the short of it. You get it? There you go, guys. And for some reason, Perry Como. That's not Perry Como. It looks like Perry Como to me. Anybody that knows what Perry Como looks like, or Andy Williams, as Mario said, I couldn't understand. But this is actually supposed to portray a tourist, and Lincoln is showing that's exactly how tall he was, and that's supposedly exactly like he looked when he did the Gettysburg Address, except I have heard he did not wear his hat that day, because to him it made him feel taller and more presidential, and he knew that his tall stature was intimidating. Even though some people called him clownish and gawky, it was still intimidating to have someone that tall giving you orders and reminding you who the president was. But that day he did not wear his hat. From what I hear, he wanted to honor the dead, and that day they were taller than he was, he said. And I tend to believe that. Jim, have you heard that one?
No, but it seems like Jim is signing off. So wonderful to be able to spend some time with you good people tonight. All my best, and thank you for all you do.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Thank
Jim.
you for all you do. And it was so good letting you meet Donnie and everybody else, and to go back there and visit with good friends. And we won't make it so long next time. Maybe we can come up, who knows, around Christmas. I'd love to see it out there at Christmas. Imagine Gettysburg at Christmas. But thank you so much for coming in and all your knowledge. I love you so much, my brother. Give my love to the whole family. All right, so there you go, guys. Donnie was telling you about the monuments, and one of the ones that I really loved, and I think I caught all of the slides. I didn't want to miss any here. Hang on one second. Let's go back. Just to be sure, I get to yammering sometimes and I forget where I was. I thought I had a close up. Beautiful. Oh, it is absolutely lovely ground. What a beautiful place. You know, I'm sure everybody has their favorites. You know, there's parts of Virginia that are breathtaking, Alabama. So many parts of this beautiful country. You know, can you imagine tearing it up? Yeah, I think I covered it all. All right. There was just a couple that didn't make it, but one monument that we really liked. You remember the one we went up in, Donnie?
Yeah, that.
I got like a little 40-second clip here.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, here we go.
Erected in 1910 at a cost of $182,000, the Pennsylvania Memorial at Gettysburg is by...
Shoot, it doesn't want to play the picture. Doggone it. Well, we'll listen to it and I'll describe it and see if I can pull up a picture. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes this thing doesn't work right. Let's see if it, one more time.
So many tech gremlins tonight.
Erected in 1910 at a cost of $182,000, the Pennsylvania Memorial at Gettysburg is by far the largest memorial on this battlefield. It's got 8 8-foot statues to various political and military figures. It's got all the names of the 34,530 men from Pennsylvania who fought on 90 plaques around the base. And on top, that is a 21-foot goddess of victory and peace made entirely of melted down Civil War cannon barrels.
Okay, so it's it's kind of hard to describe, man. It's I was trying to see if I could grab a picture real quick. Thought I had one. I'm sorry if I don't. Oh gosh, let me see if I can do this. Maybe I can get it this way. Tell a story, Donnie.
I guess this monument was made by the state of Pennsylvania, was it?
Yeah. The largest one.
Yeah, it was basically like these 4 columns, about 3 or 4 stories high. You can like walk up to the top. Had a whole bunch of statues around it. It was like very like Greek Roman style.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing was impressive looking, and
Absolutely.
to see it like right in the middle of the battlefield like that, it really does feel like you're like walking on some Greek temple.
Yep. I'll see if I can pull a picture for you guys. Right
And
there.
there's a giant statue of the goddess of victory on top of this whole thing. And I think the statue itself was made from the melted
Cannon.
cannons,
Cannon
right?
barrels.
The cannon
Yep.
barrels. Yeah.
Yep. I think I might be able to get you a picture, guys. Hold on. Yep. And you go to the top. Tell them about me coming down the stairs, Donnie. That was the thing to see.
You going down well, there was another group going up, so we were all like smushed together.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, here's
all right,
one.
though.
Yeah, and they were coming up the stairs. It was a circular staircase. It was extremely tight. It was like 2 feet, 2.5 feet, something like that, maybe 3. And here it is. There it is. She's made of a completely melted down cannon barrels. So another interesting fact is that that's not the whole thing. So let me see if I can get you another one. Another thing is outside of it, there are so many different figures that were prominent to Pennsylvania all around it. All of the names of the fallen Pennsylvania are written inside in copper. It's absolutely amazing. Here's a good picture of it. So you can kind of see it. We climbed all the way to the top. And when you go to the top, there it is.
There it is.
There's the figures all around. And when you inside, there's a circular staircase and it goes up to the second level. And you can actually stand on the second level and see everything. And on the edges, it has an arrow and points and tells you how many miles it is to New York, how many miles in this direction to get here, how many miles, Little Round Top is that way. You can stand up and you can see the entire battlefield and Gettysburg town and everything else. It's absolutely phenomenal. Yep. By far the largest monument there. And I'll tell you, Yeah, like a little Taj Mahal, Glenn. That's right. And the other one was the Virginia Monument, and that one. Let's see if I can pull it.
Oh yeah, that
I know
one
I,
was impressive as
I know
well.
I got a good picture of that.
Yeah.
That one has on the front of it. Yep, here's this. On the front of it is depicted every type of man that fought for old Virginia. And what a wonderful monument it is. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I thought it was 7. Different men. So one is a farmer, one is a businessman, one is a boy. One is a musician in the
No, I think
band. I
one's
mean,
an
just
artist, and then the
yep.
other one was like a teenager. The boy is the one riding the horse, and there was a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were all supposed to represent like different men in different stages and
Absolutely.
careers and stuff.
And it says that you're able to, tell which one's which. I mean, it was so much detail. I thought I had a picture of
Yeah.
the whatchamacallit. But yep. And that was it. That was our absolute wonderful time in Gettysburg. I mean, so much we got to see and do and go into different museums and try to catch this here and that there. I think that might be what I was looking for. Let me see. It's hard to see these little pictures. See, the stuff I go through to try to bring you guys. I think this is it. I got it. It says the group represents various types who left civil occupations to join the Confederate Army. Left to right, a professional man, a mechanic, an artist. Oh, Donnie, you're on this. A boy and I lost it. I'm not. There we go. A boy, a businessman, a farmer, and a youth. Wow. It's beautiful. And at the very top of it, one last time, let me see if I can get you a good picture. I would say at the very top of it is absolutely amazing. Oh, that's not it. That's the Peace Monument. Oh, come on. I got to have that one. Well, at the very top of it is Lee. Oh, I do have it. Right here. It loads. Sorry, that video didn't work. Sometimes this thing, StreamYard, won't let it go through. Is this right here? I cut his little head off. Don't get mad at me if you're in the South. I love Lee too. I love them all. It doesn't matter what side they were on. They all got great stories, and they really were something else. There's only very few that I probably wouldn't have liked to sit down and talk to. You know what I mean? That they were just, something was off, and that was on both sides. So again, go figure. But at the very top, you have Lee here on Traveler. And believe me, when you stand underneath that, he does, I can't remember who said that. The phrase, there's nothing so much like God as a general on a battlefield. And I'll tell you what, that statue, it's kind of like, you get that kind of feeling. I think it was meant to. I really do. Very godlike in a lot of ways to many people. And one of the funny things about that movie, Donnie, I think we could probably finish up with this, but there was a scene in that when Martin Sheen was, Lee, and it was right before Pickett's charge. And he was supposed to, come out and, they were lining up everything. And it said, hey, Dark, welcome in. It is said that when he came out, all of that was almost spontaneous when they started all screaming, and it was all the reenactors and everything. And they left it in. It was more bombastic than they thought it was going to be. And it was absolutely something else. But it's quite a thing to see in the movie. You hadn't got that far yet.
No, not
Excuse me. To Pickett's charge. But I think it's true. I've read some of the letters, not all of them. I'm certainly not a historian or a scholar. And everybody knows pieces and parts. And, you have to turn to the experts and then look again in some cases. But it really seems to me that Longstreet knew it was absolute. Somebody in here said, I think it might have been Micah, Longstreet knew it was absolute nonsense. But something was going on with Lee where he knew his men had pulled this off and got so many victories and everything else. I just think that his big thing was he didn't want to seem like they had retreated after they had fought so hard for 2 days. And Longstreet was trying to tell him not retreat, redeploy. He wanted to go around to the right and head toward Washington, and they said they would have to chase him, and then they would be on the ground of their choosing. And it makes perfect sense. But something happened that day. I don't know whether it was divine. I mean, it was almost impossible to say divine and war at the same time, but was it supposed to happen? Was it predestined? Was it needed? Was it, I still think that there's some way we could have come to some kind of decision before all that hell broke loose, but break loose it did. Donnie?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. It's hard to not think of destiny when you see a lot of these stories.
Wow. Quite good. Well put. Yeah. He felt pressure and was sick of it. It's possible, Micah. I don't know. I mean, I know that he ran out and from many historical renditions, not just the movie, but he went back. He's like, it was his fault. He said, it's my fault. It's my fault. And of course, after that, the train of wounded that left and went back across the Potomac as the rain fell and the rain started falling. I'm not sure when. I know it was on the third day, but Meade didn't they didn't stop them. They even stopped fighting when they went back across the field in Pickett's charge after they had reached the Union could have kept and just mowed them down as they retreated. And they didn't. They stopped fighting out of the honor. There was so much of that going back and forth. They honored what they did, and they stopped fighting upon them, or they could have took more out. And Meade and his generals were for many reasons were set against going after them as they crossed the Potomac in the rain, and many wounded and those that lay dying drowned in the basements of those makeshift hospitals and in the ditches that they were laying in. The carnage just kept happening. And Lincoln, of course, after he got the telegraphs, was back at his, little desk, and Robert, his oldest son, one of the only that will survive. Tad died at 18, and Robert, of course, was with Grant at that time, but he was home. And he walked in the front door and found his father with his head on the desk, sobbing out of despair and exhaustion and grief. And Robert, gave him the information he had, and he said, Robert, we had him in the palm of our hand. All we had to do was close our fingers. And yet the war continued on. And that's what, it broke his heart. And, say what you want about Meade or, anything else that went on. I wasn't there, but we were there this weekend, Donnie. And as it says in the book, the rock remembers, the ground remembers. And if you want to take us out, Donnie, and tell them the little thing that happened that night, I think that's just as much your story as anybody else's. That we took the dowsing rods out and we saged up. And
you should start that story. I'll tell
Okay.
the tail end of that.
I wanted to show Donnie how the dowsing rods work. And I kind of was walking around, the outskirts of the hotel. There's the wood line there and lots of field. And like I said, the battle was everywhere. So, it's everywhere. And I said, well, we can go do something, a real simple little thing real quick and see if we get any response or whatever. And I saged up everybody and showed them how, a sage cleansing was. And how was that, Donnie? Was that your first saging?
That was my first saging. Yeah, ever.
There you go.
And I think I remember thinking, that's what sage smells like, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it didn't choke you out, which made me happy because, we might have been exercising stuff out of the.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was cool. I had my arms out, and then we just saged like, our extremities, and you kind of wafted to our face, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
just like in Cabin 22.
And then, for the rest of the time, I just kind of stood back and just kind of watched and tried to keep a clear head and
Mm-hmm.
keep my intentions positive.
Yep,
And
it's good.
yeah, and Cisco, I don't know. And so what were you doing if you would
I was well.
take the rest of this?
I kind of felt like we could walk up to a certain, distance away from this wood line because I felt like there was multiple energies right there. And the
Yeah.
thing is it's not the best place to be doing this because the hotel is behind us, the Wyndham is behind us. They're having a 80s party or something. The band's
Yeah.
playing. I mean, this is like not the perfect spot. But I told them
And
we
there
can
were like
try it.
cars coming by.
Yeah,
So
and I
that
told
really
them
messed me up.
we can try it, but it's not going to be perfect. It's definitely
It
not
was
the
not ideal.
right, not ideal,
Yeah.
and certainly it wouldn't go down as that kind of any evidence. Well, all those things did happen. So, do you see what I'm saying? From an investigator point of view, it wasn't an ideal time and area, but we were far off, and I could focus on it, and so I felt like okay, that's far enough. And I'm kind of feeling like who are these jerks coming on? It's kind of like today somebody'd say, who these some bitches here doing. So we were up there, and that's where we decided to sage and everything. And I got the dowsing rods out, and I just tried to connect with, basically send out there just intent, and hey, is anybody here that would like to talk with us, and yada yada, back and forth. And the dowsing rods for the first time, when I've done this, usually, and I don't know why this is, but it seems to be, yes will usually be a cross. And I always tell them, show me what your yes is if you use these dowsing rods, right? So I'm just standing there again. Donnie can testify. I'm not shaking it. I'm not doing it. I'm just sitting there, standing there holding them tight on the little spins, and they
I
can do
was
their
just
own thing.
standing next to her, just like watching the dowsing rods,
Hmm. And
staring
I
right
asked
at
them,
them.
right, and I asked them to give me a yes, and they wanted to go this way for a yes, so out and wide. And I'm like, okay, can you cross them for no? And they did. It took them a little bit, but you could kind of see one going and then like the other, and then finally they crossed. And then at one time they came all the way back, and crossed, and then went back up again. But just a real quick little thing. And I felt like maybe three or four of them came up and kind of hanging out, seeing what's going on, and one was doing it, and then there was others across the road. So it's basically just a grass patch. But when I first walked up there, I got hit in the top of my foot with a stone. I don't want to say a rock. It was like a stone, and it kind of like bip and then bounced off. And I saw the bounce off. I didn't see it coming, but I felt it. And I looked down, and I'm like, at the same time, I get out of here. You know what I mean? So I had more to validate it than just the seeing it bounce and go and hit me. But I still looked up because there's a tree. And I thought, an acorn, maybe. You know what I mean? So I'm looking. There's no acorns, was there, Donnie? Or something that could have
No. We
fallen
looked
out
at
of
the
that
tree.
tree.
There were no acorns.
Hmm. And it was really weird. And but anyway, again, not evidence, but it happened.
We actually went back the next day to examine the tree.
Sure did. Yeah, we did in the daylight. So
Yeah.
this is dark too. This is late at night, real late, probably 11, 12. I don't know. So anyhow, I got some responses, and that's when I kind of called everybody in, and we all held hands, and we just sent our energy out that way. And I had their spirit guides, if they wanted to assist them, and their loved ones, they could come and get them real fast. It was kind of like a drive-through crossing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of like it to go. Get it to
Yeah.
go. That's funny. So, and that was it. And, we were good. We closed it off. I told the other ones if they were interested, I hope other people would come by, or they would be guided to some of the people in that building that had the light and all that stuff to try to consider going after I assume they saw what just happened. And
Yeah.
I felt some go. I felt a wind. I felt the whole thing. My son was standing there, and he was putting his stuff out. And Donnie, you said you felt something. Remember
Yeah, I did feel like this weird it was like a weird just tingling sensation coming out it felt like it was coming out the top of my head. Um I was like, "Whoa, what the hell was that?" And I don't know what Tone was feeling.
and you said your hands. Tell them about your
My
hands.
hands were starting to feel hot. Not
Energy
like
pull.
burning hot, but it definitely felt like there was like heat on the palms of my hands.
The energy pull, guys. You know what I'm talking about.
Um,
It's kind of cool.
what'd you say? Oh,
Energy pull. It's an
yeah,
energy. It's a when you're. It's just almost like when you take your hands and you do this, you create heat. It's the
yeah,
same thing when a lot
yeah.
of
It was
energy
like
is
that
being
level of
pulled.
heat. It was like it
Yeah,
felt like that level of
you're
heat.
putting it out. They're pulling
Yeah.
it. It's and it's kind of cooling it from your head and from your. It's wild. But yeah, it was kind of like a drive-by crossing, and we just went on
But then
about our
there's
business. But
the
the
crazy
next
part.
day,
The
go
next
ahead,
day,
tell
okay,
them.
I'll take it from here.
Take it from
Okay.
here.
So, after that night, so Cisco goes back to her hotel room, and I continue to stay because now the convention is like technically closed, but everyone's in the parking lot like drinking, and they got a band playing.
Oh,
And then, I go there, I'm like, just one drink, right? But then one drink turns to like a bunch of drinks.
not with the
And
paranormal big boys out there.
I was just like talking to all these different paranormal people. I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, paranormal guy?" And I met all these like famous paranormal people, and I had no idea who anyone
You didn't
was.
know.
And
It's
they were
like
like, "Oh,
he's out there
you
with
don't know who that
Schrader
guy is?
and
That dude's on TV." And I'm like, "Whoa,
Scott
that's cool."
Porter.
Hey,
Yeah, all these
um,
big,
yeah,
all
it
these
was
names
like
you'd know from
I
seeing
was like,
throughout the years.
"Yeah, I have no idea who any of these people are, but I
It was
believe
so
you.
funny,
I believe that you're
so funny.
famous."
All
Um,
these big, scary looking dudes and ladies out there in the black t-shirts, the scary looking ones that'll come to you when in your worst time of your life, when
yeah.
your kids are floating around in the living room and the dog's upside down walking on the ceiling. They walk into your house. We're here. That's who
So,
you're gonna call. Trust
so
me.
during that party, like, I'm smoking cigarettes, I'm drinking with people, I'm chatting people up. I lose my
Yeah,
lighter, right?
yeah. You get
So the
cigarettes.
next morning, Cisco and I call each other. We agree to meet downstairs, and we meet at the bench. We got our sunglasses on. We got our morning coffee. We
I
just
didn't
ate
drink, by the
breakfast.
way. Not one drop
No,
the whole
Cisco
time.
went to her hotel room. She
Yeah,
wasn't part of that.
no, no.
Um, but when we sat down, we went to light a cigarette, and I was like, "Oh, damn it, I had no lighter." I actually had matches from my car, but then I was like grumbling about the fact that I lost my lighter at the previous night.
Yep.
So then
The
afterwards, we
whole
go to
way.
the
The May I just say the whole way across the parking lot. This is what our conversation is because I said, Donnie, I got several letters in my room. I said, right now I've got one here and I've got another one in my purse, and then I go back to my room and get you one, no problem.
and we were
Really
having this
quick,
whole
easy to get lighter.
conversation about
Yeah.
losing lighters,
Yep.
a whole conversation about it.
Yep.
And
I agree, Froze.
as we're walking to the spot to examine it during the daytime, we go to the very spot where Cisco was standing, and because we wanted to see what hit her foot, and we look down and there's a black lighter, and
Yep.
I'm like, no way. So I
He
go to
picks
pick
it
it
up.
up, and I light it, and it lights, and I'm like, and then Cisco and I look at each other, we're like, holy shit,
Yep, right in the exact spot where I was standing the night before. We're looking all over that ground because I'm looking for the rock that like I said, I felt it hit. I looked down, I saw it just barely caught a ricochet of something going that way. So that I was looking in that corner about 2 feet from where I was standing, and there was nothing there, just like some leaves and barely anything. And then that next morning, there sits a lighter, a black lighter that works. Yep. Yep. And it
yeah. And
didn't
so
fall
I'm
out of
like,
my pocket because I was carrying a blue one
mhm.
and a one with a print on it that has got like a heart, like a Mendy kind of looking heart, like a gypsy looking thing. It's kind of cool. But
Yeah,
it
I
wasn't
think that
mine.
lighter apported there, and I took it, and now it's like my lucky lighter. I'm never
Yep.
gonna lose it.
And what why not? Don't talk yourself out of it. I mean, it's certainly not evidence, but it was cool. You know what I mean? That whole situation was really cool. It was very quick and but neat. So there you go. Well, you got all the way through the getting the tickets charged and Abraham Bryan and Buford and his cupola, which probably would only be played by Sam Elliott. Again, Donnie, just saying, he was
Hmm.
wonderful. And the high ground. And God, that's like my favorite. Other than that, and the bayonet. Oh, here's a quick story, and I'll shut up. but this is so funny. This is so funny. Okay, you know me, right? Not shy, not shy. So, especially paranormal, especially when I'm sitting there and, people are going, I've been doing this 10 years. I've been doing this for 3 years. Okay. I don't get into those, I just sit there quietly at these seminars or talking, because the people I know, right? And I'm fine with that. I don't need, So, and I'm certainly not there going, I've got this evidence. Can you tell me if it's bullshit or not? Because why do that? Because they're going to tell you. It's just this back and forth. We all know things happen at conventions and it's a big pissing contest and everything else. And then there's the quiet people like Mark Nesbitt and some of these other fantastic minds that have been in it for decades and decades and decades and done so much and gone from the start to next level stuff. And just, so anyway. So what was I talking about?
There definitely seem to be, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
So I was just going to say, there definitely seem to be a lot of self-congratulatory people there, if you know what I mean.
God bless them.
Yeah.
You had everything from haunted dolls with the brains hanging out, carrying little bloody axes, to some wonderful artists that I just may have on here that are doing things out of silicone and a home decor. And some of it's just absolutely gorgeous. You could make your living room look like a dungeon if you wanted to.
There was a lot of cool stuff there.
On the cheap,
I gotta say, yeah.
From an artist, an independent. So anyway, just a wonderful town of people doing many things from jewelry to I got a new lid for my cup. The lid lasted a whole year, but I ran over with my car. The cup still, it's like a Yeti, but it's pretty with the glitter.
There were a lot of people selling like gemstones and crystals. A lot of gemstones and crystals.
Medium, psychic, tarot card readers, some of which we are going to have on the show. Fantastic. Yeah. Like to bring you good energy. And just everything from Bigfoot. There was a big dinosaur, a huge dinosaur walking around. One of those puffy things. It's fun. And just everything. Just bands and music and food and just the whole shebang from one. And ghosts. How can you not love it? So Marnie wanted to get a walking stick, a really nice, like wood grain, real pretty one. Went all over looking because he's tall and it had to be a right height. We finally found one, uncommonly found one down at the square, right across from the Willis House. It was great, perfect, right? So we went to the National Museum. What is it called? The National Park Museum at Gettysburg. And it's got a beautiful gift shop. So we thought we'd find one there, but we didn't. We found some other stuff. But as we're walking out, I could not believe this. As God is my witness, I would have never thought something like this would happen. And I'm probably making a big deal out of it, but I don't care. I'm walking by, and there's this sweet little couple gonna go on a little tour. Lovely little, middle-aged, dressed similar. Kind of look like they might have been going golfing, perhaps, but they're going to go hiking. And they're just learning about Gettysburg, and the man's really interested in it. And you could tell, just in a short conversation as I'm paying for my stuff, that she's interested in it because he's interested in it. So cool, right? That's nice. It's just, they're going to have a nice day. And they're asking the lady behind the counter, she's giving them a map and telling them what time the tour starts. And she's showing him, she's telling him Devil's Den is closed down right now. Little Round Top is closed down for renovation, but you can go here, and you can still see it. You just can't go to the certain spots on it. And she was explaining that. And he looks up at her and he says, is that where that officer, that Chamberlain, kind of held that? And he did that like bayonet charge I've heard about. And she says, and this is the whammy. She puts her hands on the map and she looks and she goes, I have no idea. And I went, okay, pull this over. She's like, I didn't say it in my head because I'm thinking, what? How can you not know this? You work here and you're looking at a map and you're surrounded by books about Chamberlain and all this. Anyway, it blew my mind. And I'm trying to keep my mouth shut, but you know Cisco. So she's going on about it. He goes, oh, that's a shame. He goes, I think that's what it was called. She goes, well, there's a hill over here. And she points at Culp's Hill. And I'm like, okay, wait. Okay. And I walked up and I said, excuse me. I said, but yes, little round. And I just went off on this spiel. I got all the way to the where how they flanked and they went down, in a succession and pushed everybody down the hill. And I did the whole thing, told them about Texans and Alabamians and everything else. Did it real fast in about 2 minutes. And the wife is just like this with a big smile on her face, her cute little hat. And the husband is just looking at me and just smiling ear to ear. And I looked I said, I'm so sorry. I couldn't help it. I have Gettysburg Tourette's. And she just looked at me and she's like, that's okay. And I wanted to say, are you hiring? But I couldn't let that go. So that was kind of funny. But so many things like that, little goofy things happen. We had a great time, didn't we, Donnie?
It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I was not there for that story.
Yeah, she was probably a tip. Yeah. God bless her, picking hearts. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that.
I love you guys. Yep. Universe. Vixen Doe was saying the universe gives you gifts. I think it's funny because Donnie, you remember, and again, some might say it's stretching, and some might say it's coincidence, and some might say it's bullshit. But let it fall where it may. But I can remember when I was telling you about the cross that I was gifted in the cemetery.
You showed it to me.
Yeah, the Gettysburg National Cemetery there. Actually, it was Evergreen Cemetery. And you said, man, I wish a ghost would give me a gift. And I think you may, it's possible you may, even if it was a black Bic lighter, but it lit. So there you go. So keep your that might be your spiritual candle. Keep that thing lit, and keep your big old fat candles burning too. Okay.
Can you refill those big lighters? Are those refillable?
No, I don't think so. On purpose, they make it that way. They are refillable butanes, but not a big. They're disposable. That was the big thing. When did they come out? Early 70s, late 60s? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the whole thing about it. Yep. She was probably a temp, Micah. But still, is that the hill that guy Chamberlain came? Oh my God. It's funny. But that's why we do this. This is just something I'm interested in. And I thank you sitting through another episode of Gettysburg. But like Lincoln, we could go on, the Civil War. Come on, So it's just so many stories, so many battles, Antietam and Shiloh and Chickamauga and, the prison camps and everything else. But we're not quite done with Lincoln yet. We are going to finish up next weekend. Give us a week to get all our research and stuff together, because Donnie's going to bring the Woo, I believe, next Sunday. And we're going to talk about Booth. And was it Booth that died in the tobacco barn? Some people say no. And, Lincoln's body has a little story too, as well as the premonitions and the spiritualism and a lot of other things. And then the ghost stories on top of it. So we finally made our way to the ghost stories and everything else that have to do with Lincoln and that era there. And Booth as well. We've heard a good one from a good medium right here on this show. And we'll retell that one next Sunday. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Vixen says, I have a Zippo letter. I do too, Vixen Doe. Absolutely. Nothing like a good Zippo. I had one with my initials on it for a long time. I carried all the way through the military and for a long time afterwards. And,
I used to have one, but I think I lost it.
Oh, man. Froze, you're going to watch it. Oh, I'm so jealous. I want to watch it with you. I'd watch it again in a heartbeat. I absolutely will. When you get to Buford saying the high ground, you are going to laugh so hard. Make sure you pee before you watch it, because that's right in the beginning, because you're going to go, it's amazing. Anyway, enjoy that. I wish I had a little vid on the way out, but, oh, wait, I do. I kind of got, should I show him, Donnie? We went in to see Mark Nesbitt's seminar. It's hard to hear, but I think you'll hear it. And Mark is standing up there. They don't give him his PowerPoint. They didn't. It's something else somebody else had that he needed. So this man did a wonderful seminar, 45 minutes to whatever, and a Q&A. And they didn't even give him anybody to announce him or introduce him or anything. And Mark says, well, and on top of that, I don't think I'm going to have anybody. I don't have anybody to introduce me. So I guess I'll just go ahead and introduce myself, because he's setting up while everybody's coming in. And I said, oh, hell, Mark, I'll do it. So he goes, come on up here, Cisco. And Donnie started recording. And at the beginning here, you can't hear.
I only catch it like halfway through. Like
Right.
I reacted too slowly, I guess, and I didn't whip out my camera.
I didn't know he had done this either, because I kind of went blank, and I just went from the heart. But in the beginning, I said, hi, I'm Cisco, and I have a little bitty podcast on YouTube. It's called Journey Through the Gate. I've known Mark for several years. And like Lincoln said, we are right now on hallowed ground. And that's how it starts out. You missed that part. So here it goes. It's so funny. I'm such a goof.
He said it's hallowed ground. And if you don't walk in there with respect, they know it. This man right here is the reason he spent how many years as a ranger?
Well, as a ranger, yeah, 6 years.
Yeah. And then go through, and little by little came upon these wonderful paranormal happenings, and he decided to try to figure out what was going on. So when he speaks, I listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Cisco.
Mr. Martin.
Mr. Mark Nesbitt, ladies and
That
gentlemen.
was a
And
fun
what a
time.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I had his new book here I was going to show you. And I also wanted to share with you that Miss Laura bought me a wonderful bag. I don't know if you can see that beautiful little kitty right there. It's called Kitty Town Coffee. And this one is named, let's see if you can see it there. See that pretty kitty at the bottom? This one is Smokey, and it's named after an actual kitty. All of the proceeds go to help the no-kill shelter out there in Gettysburg. This one is Smokey, and it's the darkest roast they have. And she snuck it in on me. She bought it there at Lincoln Square, right by the Willis House, and was a lovely surprise. Thank you, Laura Stevens. Everybody send healing energy out to her. And Steve, and if she wants to come on here and tell her stories and her experiences, she's more than welcome. And I know, and it's good coffee too. I had some this morning in my Lincoln cup. I swear, I'm all Gettysburged out, got my Gettysburg shirt, and I'd go back again tomorrow. Donnie, how about you? We're gonna go camping next time, maybe.
We're definitely doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, get a cabin on the battlefield, and
getting a cabin on the battlefield would sound so awesome.
Yep, and sit outside
and hopefully there'll be more people in this chat listening right now who might come and join us.
Wouldn't that be cool? Year. Wouldn't that be cool? Get a cabin and sit outside, and maybe around the fire pit and stuff with our dowsing rods, and see if we can talk to some soldiers and maybe talk them over to the other side. Maybe do another little drive-through crossing. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, I think that would be a fun time.
It's an amazing time. Thank you so much, my friend. And to all you out there, my brothers and sisters out there in the paranormal, it was lovely spending time with you. It was lovely getting some new stories and lots of hugs. And if you ever get a chance to go to Gettysburg. All right. I love you all. Good night.